Welcome to Focus Fire Chat. Explore together.
Welcome back for the 12th installment of our Extra Lore series, recorded live on March 1st, 2017 on twitch.tv. Big shout out to the chat here. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. Our topic for this chat is going to be an exploration of the Kingdom Hearts series. This is your host, Blue Crew 86. Alongside me, we have the man who, it has been said, has the voice that launched 1,000 ships, Justin Sane 0516. Justin, what are your thoughts on the topic tonight?
Well, nothing quite captures my heart like this brilliant kingdom of... I've never played Kingdom Hearts, and it's always intrigued me.
So what you're saying is you're a nobody.
Yes.
That was rough, but yeah, pretty much.
Well, you game reference.
I'm delightfully irreverent. Some people say I'm fun at parties, but yes, no, I've never played Kingdom Hearts. I do like how they bring all the different franchises together, and I'm really interested to see how that's reconciled story-wise. So
awesome. We also have our resident Gunter extraordinaire, Green-Eyed Music Lover. Green, how's everything going? And what are your thoughts on the topic?
It's going well. I was telling you earlier, and tell everybody at home that this was actually the game that got me back into video games. I played on Super Nintendo growing up, N64, and then set that aside for a long time. And it was probably about 8 years later, I finally picked back up PlayStation. A friend of mine had it, and this was the game series that I played first. First series of games that I played kind of continuously and finished all of them. So I'm pretty excited about tonight. Not as super excited as our awesome guest host coming on here, but I'm pretty pumped for it. Ready to talk about some Mickey.
Good. So basically what I hear is that Justin and I will be the silent peanut gallery as usual for these. And let's
false. I won't be silent.
Okay, fair enough.
I will not be silenced.
So, of course, for these topics, we always want to make sure we have someone who is well-versed in the lore of these different games. So it is with pleasure that I welcome back Demigod257, or as we know him, Josh. Josh, how's everything going for you tonight?
Oh, everything's pretty good.
Nice. Can you let us know where people can find you again, and what got you into the Kingdom Hearts series?
You guys can find me on the Discord chat, or you guys can find me on Twitter at Dr. Lore Josh. And how I even got into the series came out when I was in elementary school. A friend of mine used to bring the strategy guide to Kingdom Hearts 2 with him every day. So occasionally I would look through it, and I found it to be, kind of interesting. I was not really a big gamer back then. The most that I had done was maybe a lot of time playing Medal of Honor, and it was, I don't know. I played the second game at his house. I ended up buying the second game. I didn't play the first game until much, much later, but I've played every game in the Kingdom Hearts series. And if you know the Kingdom Hearts series, that requires buying a lot of different consoles and platforms and playing the game on so many different forms. So I'm excited now that everything is easily accessible for everyone if you have a PlayStation. So yeah.
Nice.
But everyone, if you have a PlayStation.
Before we start off the chat, however, I do have a few housekeeping notes. In our last Extra Lore episode, we discussed the Legend of Zelda series. If you missed that and have any interest in hearing our thoughts, please be sure to check out www.focusfirechat.com for archives of all previous chats, as well as links to all our various other pages. If you don't mind, please give us some feedback on iTunes to let us know how we're doing. As many of you already know, Focus Fire Chat is a cross-community gathering where the intent is to offer a week-long, in-depth view of a particular subject from within the lore of Destiny and other games. With the Extra Lore series, we delve into a game series other than Destiny for a full month, giving our group a chance to get a feel for the other games that our community loves to play. We try to stream a recap of this month-long conversation in the first week of each month. Please be sure to give us some support to the other podcasts in the Guardian Radio Network found at theguardiansofdestiny.com. These include Guardian Radio, the official podcast for the Guardians of Destiny, Guardian 1, Ghost and Echoes, which also has the Destiny Audio Grimoire, and the network's newest edition, Paragon Radio. Our next Extra Lore is going to be a discussion on the Portal series. So be sure to jump into the Discord server and weigh in on that one. With that, Demi, would you kindly start us off with a general summary of the information that we have about Kingdom Hearts?
It's general.
Do you want to just start with what a Kingdom Heart is?
Sure. So,
The heart of a kingdom.
Not quite.
Kingdom Hearts as an entity is pretty much the core of the universe and a series of Kingdom Hearts. It is where everything is derived from, and it's essentially where everything returns to upon quote-unquote death. And across the game series, there have been attempts to access Kingdom Hearts or to recreate Kingdom Hearts in some way, but Kingdom Hearts is sort of like this lost power in the universe. And as of yet, there's no real form of Kingdom Hearts. The only way that it's ever been referenced is in a heart-shaped moon that appears throughout a couple games. But it is the life source for everything in the universe. It is the power source for everything in the universe. And it is what the villains of the universe are attempting to seek for whatever reason that might be.
Another thing we should probably address pretty much right off the bat is what hearts kind of represent in the game. Because the whole purpose of the heart is it's different than what we normally think of it as.
Oh, yeah. So the heart mythology that's in Kingdom Hearts is pretty much central to the entire series. Generally speaking, it is a matter of strength of heart, which is just a theme that, is around the entire Kingdom Hearts.
Within your heart, you tend to there's a balance between, you get the duality idea that happens in almost every game, and every single heart has both light and darkness. Almost every single heart. There's only a few exceptions. And the hearts themselves kind of represent the soul of the person. Somewhat.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is when you look into a person's heart, for the most part, the heart actually takes the form of a platform. And a platform is a reflection of the person's soul, of the person's identity. So most people who are familiar with the Kingdom Hearts series know that at the beginning of every game, there is a quote-unquote dive into the heart scenario where the person is given a tutorial of how the game works, but at the same time, they are being introduced to the main character's heart. So Sora's station, as it's called in the series, usually has a picture of himself, sometimes in a sleeping position, and around him will be those individuals most significant to him and his. So, and every character has a different heart model or a different heart station, and I think we've only seen a couple of them in game, but we know that everyone's is unique. And recently, Square Enix had I forget, they might have had an expo or something, but they were selling these stained glass clocks, and each clock was actually a reflection of another person's heart. So outside of the game, you can always go and search what everybody's individual heart looks like. Those are reflections of the people's souls, and they could even change at some points, depending on the character's own evolution. The strength or weakness of their heart, or just as they grow as a person throughout the series.
Right. And as far as the general synopsis throughout the whole game, the basic premise is there's two different sides, the light side and the dark side, which are represented primarily by two different characters who are trying to decide what the best way to get to Kingdom Hearts is, what in some respects. The dark side guy is trying to kind of get there by force, and the light side realizes that it's something that naturally. And you get multiple characters throughout multiple, would you say multiverse type thing? It's all like one universe, but lots of different multi-world.
Yeah, it can be confusing.
Oh yeah.
And when I was building the mind map for the realms that are in Kingdom Hearts, I had to go back and do some research just to make sure I was getting everything correct. But, and this probably should have been something we stated at the beginning, Kingdom Hearts is a mix of Square Enix and Disney.
So
and
Final Fantasy and Disney.
Yeah. And it's probably Square Enix's second biggest game series outside of the general Final Fantasy franchise. And so every game introduces a whole Disney worlds. Iconic Disney characters are all over the place. I mean, Mickey, Donald, and Goofy are staples.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey's
as well as
one
bad
of
guys.
I thought Mickey was one of the main ones, wasn't he? I've only played parts
to
of
an
the first one.
extent. He's a master. Is it Keyblade? Master Keyblade bear.
He's a Keyblade master.
So he is kind of a staple, but he's not always there. He's kind of this mysterious character that goes off things without you.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also essential to the story. The ones that you really interact with most of the time are going to be Goofy and Donald.
Right,
yes,
because Mickey was like, from what I remember from the very limited gameplay I've had, he was like a king, wasn't he?
So Mickey is the king of the world that is called the Disney Castle.
Okay,
and its surrounding lands.
Mm-hmm.
I guess in some way we could consider him the king of the Disney characters, but every Disney character resides in their own world for the most part. So all of
each Disney universe. So you have like Mermaid universe, not miniverse.
Yeah, I mean you have like Olympus Coliseum is reflective of Hercules, and so all the characters from the Hercules film come from Olympus Coliseum. You have Atlantica for Little Mermaid, and
the Beast, the Beauty and the Beast. I can't remember.
Beast Castle. Not all of them have creative names.
Right.
Chronologically speaking, when you first meet Stitch, he comes from Deep Space, which is just a reference to the very beginning of the Lilo and Stitch film. So, but yeah, there's different levels. There's, the Disney worlds are all found in the realm of light, which is generally the heroic realm, you might say. It's where all of the heroes come from. It's where a couple of the villains even come from as well.
Maleficent.
Yes, Maleficent as well. I mean, even villains from the Disney worlds will still come from the realm of light, And then there is the realm of darkness, which is by definition the opposite, but it's degradation and the destruction of pretty much any world. And it consists of dark beings called Heartless, which are essentially the darkness of a person's heart made form. In my opinion, there's kind of a misnomer between some of the enemy names in this game because they don't entirely mean what they say. You can't take them literally. Yeah.
So what happens when somebody dies in the game, like a named person most of the time, they lose essentially part of their heart and become what's called the Heartless. So they become like these, they're not quite zombie-like in their things, but they're mindless primal beings. and they just act on instinct. And most of the time, what they're trying to do is get more light, so they're going to try to come after you.
So,
Yeah.
a Heartless, can you return a Heartless to a heart? I don't know what for their original. To their original form.
It's possible. There are. So for the most part, Heartless are they are beings made of consumed hearts. But there's a single method to return a person back to their original form, and that's by releasing their heart, quote unquote, through the use of a keyblade. And the keyblade is not only meant to attract Heartless, because the inverse effect of a keyblade is the person who wields a keyblade is constantly under threat of the Heartless, because the Heartless know that it is in some way a danger to them.
Mm-hmm.
But the keyblade can also release them. And so if a heart is released, it has the possibility of restoring the person to its original form or being sent away off to Kingdom Hearts.
And Kingdom Hearts being the center,
Sort of, yeah.
afterlife thing.
Right. It's the somewhat heaven-esque model in this game. And there's technically, if we're going to get into some of the technical stuff already, there's technically 3 different Kingdom Hearts. There's the Kingdom of Man. There are Hearts of Man, and then there's a different one, and then the main Kingdom Hearts, which is the moon one that we time. That's getting into some of like that's getting into some of like the DS type stuff.
That's, yeah, I mean, hey, if you ever want to OSP on me Discord, I'll be glad to do that. But general stuff here. But yeah.
As far as, let's see here, storyline goes, do we want to kind of break into a little bit of the story?
I think that's probably, I think that's a pretty good, is there any other glaring aspects of of the universe that would be necessary to understand the story at this point?
Well, do you want to talk about the picture, Josh? The general consensus of what Kingdom Hearts is?
Yeah, general. So there is, within the community of Kingdom Hearts fans, there's a running joke of everyone in the series is an imitation of one of 2 characters. The main character of the series is Sora, and he's a young boy who gains access to the Keyblade, and throughout these, I think it's like 8 or 9 games now, throughout these games, he is developing into a Keyblade Master and into someone who is going to defend the Realm of Light. There are a number of characters, however, that are derivative of his existence, or who have been connected in such a way that his existence would not even be had they not been.
Right.
Wow, I'm confusing myself now that I'm saying this.
So the personalities are kind of fragments of each other.
Sort of. It's
yes
like
and no.
Reincarnations in some respects, but not actually reincarnated. There's pieces of soul that jumps from people to people.
Mm-hmm.
For Sora, he is himself. This is going to get really confusing, and I'm really sorry for everybody who's listening. Sora is the one. He's the prime, let's say.
Okay.
After him, there came about a being called Roxas. Roxas is technically, you can say, his negative. Okay. There is also a person that was created off of Sora's memories, and she came out of Sora and Roxas. This is it's in the mind map.
Yeah, she
And-
was created using data. Basically, she's a carbon copy essentially, but not actually. She's a female, not a male, and just created using the data from Sora himself.
Yeah.
She's
Okay.
actually really important.
So you have those three. Now, before Sora's existence, you had a character called Ventus. And when Ventus suffered from a certain traumatic injury, his heart, his soul, was somehow able to resonate with the newly born Sora. And this was across worlds and dimensions. It seems very providential that this is. But because they connected, upon his death, Ventus was allowed to exist within Sora. God, I don't know how I did this mind map now that I'm
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like that kind of. So there's a kind of a causal loop connecting everything that makes everything necessary, but not necessarily predetermined.
And there's
Yes.
there's a lot of retconning that happened in the game, and a lot of things where they just had to finagle things to make them fit.
Well, I mean, when you're blending this many different individual stories together, that's not a surprise. Who was the girl?
her name is Xion.
Okay.
Xion, Xion. Also, if you didn't know, Roxas is his name is just a rearranging of Sora with the addition of an X. And that the naming scheme in this game is actually very important because it tells how some characters relate to other characters.
Not a girl. That's
the
Kyrie, isn't it?
Yeah, Kyrie.
Kyrie's
Kyrie is the third of that group. She's the best friend / love interest / all those other things.
Oh, good lord!
Also,
So
isn't Kyrie the one that was made from memories, though? Or
No. Xion is made from memories. But her appearance is based off of Kyrie.
Okay. So yeah.
So
It's-
story wise, let's take a big step back and say, let's look at the basic story arc of the I can't really say main games because there's not really. They're all kind of.
They're all main games, I think.
Let's approach it from Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2. Not even touch any of the auxiliary games for now.
Yeah. So
'Cause those are the ones most people will be most familiar with, I think.
and all the auxiliary games will inevitably infer the entire story that's going on with this saga. So with the first two Kingdom Hearts games, you have Sora leaving his world, and he's on a journey to find his two friends, Riku and Kairi. And in the process, he gets brought into this dynamic battle that's going on between the Heartless, which have been progressively consuming and destroying all worlds in the realm of light, and growing into being this guardian figure for the realm of light, of which there are less than a handful of currently. And the only other one at the time of the first game being Mickey, who doesn't appear until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
When the second game comes in, Sora has since achieved the goal of the first game. But because of some circumstances, he has yet to reunite, or he's yet to find his friends. And so in this game, he's trying to reunite with them. But in the process of reuniting with them, he finds himself sort of tackling the same enemy in a different guise. And so the enemy is also doing something similar, where he is also trying to gain access to Kingdom Hearts to achieve whatever goal that might be. And in the end of that game, he does finally reunite.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm like...
Yeah, he in Kingdom Hearts 2, the main antagonist, the Organization 13, we find out in the game has abducted Kairi, and then Sora has to basically do Organization 13's bidding a little bit to get her back in some ways, and it's super convoluted, but he does eventually get that, reunites with her and Riku, and then they actually go after Organization 13 a little bit. So that's the simplest way to go through those two games.
I gotta say the greatest part about this is Green and I are stressing because we're trying to make it as simple as possible.
Blue, your face is awesome.
Sorry, I just sent them in our Discord chat a face of just absolute and utter confusion.
So Blue, I want to remind you that when I did, and by the way, whenever there's extra lore, and apparently it's something that I'm on, I don't just dominate the chat. I make a whole wiki page out of the extra lore chat.
It's true. I'm looking at the Kingdom Hearts wiki.
Thing.
I'm looking at the Kingdom Hearts wiki. Our Discord chat is longer than this.
It is.
And I just want you to know that everything that I did was off of memory.
That's terrifying.
That's the scary part.
Yeah. So as far as the confusion with the different people, that could take a whole episode in and of itself to explain what's going on there with the split hearts and somebody's heart getting repaired and all sorts of stuff. So that one, I would suggest we don't dive into too much. Just know that Sora is trying to find his friends, and his friends are getting wrapped up into some pretty deep things going on in the game. And by finding his friends, there's a lot of backstory that goes on with both of them. Finding his friends, saving his friends, and then him and his friends go to fight the bad guys. I mean, that's the bare bones, basic Cliff Notes.
Yeah, I mean, from the perspective of the player and of Sora, really, it almost seems like unfortunate circumstances. You know, he spends the main titles are about reuniting with his friends, and all the auxiliary titles are explaining all of the other characters who Sora then needs to save.
So I'm looking at a brief summary of the first game, right? And it's exactly, I mean, it's at its core, the basic game seems, I mean, it's a basic adventure game, right? You know, it's Sora, and I'm just going off this little summary right here. It's Sora, and it's his adventures. Apparently, his homeworld is destroyed. Yay! By sinister creatures. And so he's attempting to restore that and get back with his friends. And then that adventure gives him contact with, you know, all the characters that you meet in the first game, which it looks like is Disney films and Final Fantasy yet for this game. And then I see here, it says that there's chronologically, this follows Birth by Sleep and takes place before Chain of Memories, which I'm assuming is kind of what, Josh, you were saying, games that kind of explain the other characters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think
The nice thing with this game, this series, is you could literally play Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts really happy with all the information that you've gotten.
Yeah, because I remember I played like the first half of the first game because I don't have a PlayStation. So I played the first half on a friend's PlayStation, and I remember like the game. I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't getting hit in the head with a sledgehammer with information. It was pretty, but at the same time, there wasn't anything that was like, why is this happening? Like everything was really pretty self-explanatory and all that. So let's see.
It's not until you play the auxiliaries that it really gets super convoluted.
Right, I can totally say that.
I think when I think it's definitely, you know, you can play Kingdom Hearts. Obviously, you can play the first game, and it really doesn't matter if you played the previous games in the chronology. If you played Kingdom Hearts 2 and you hadn't played Chain of Memories, and this was back when Kingdom Hearts 1 came out. The next year, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories came out. It was on a different platform, but it came out the next year, and then the year after that was Kingdom Hearts 2. If you didn't play Chain of Memories, but you played Kingdom Hearts 2, you might have a few questions, like, it's Organization 13, why are we missing 7 people?
Oh,
that wouldn't kill your experience,
right?
But it would make it make you think, what happened to those 7 people?
Right, because it looks like Kingdom Hearts 2, where it's I see what you're saying. It's actually considered the third game, and it is a direct sequel to Chain of Memories.
Yes,
exactly.
Okay,
and the only ones that are numbered are the ones that come about on consoles first.
Okay.
Because Kingdom Hearts 1, obviously, that was on the PS2. Kingdom Hearts 2 was on the PS2. Kingdom Hearts 3, after almost a millennia, will eventually come out, and that'll be on PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah.
All the other auxiliary titles.
Oh, so they're actually coming to the Xbox.
So. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Cool.
So the other thing that goes on within, oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought because I looked up. Go on. Never mind.
No, I was just going to say, so Chain of Memories, I jumped back into Chain of Memories since we're kind of just running through a little quick summary, is obviously the direct sequel to the first game. This platform, it was the Game Boy Advanced, and so I see what you're saying there, Josh, and it came out the year, so this was the one that came year after, but different console. However, it is the third game in the timeline.
Chain of Memories? Chain of Memories is the second.
It says that it's after Hearts by Birth by Sleep.
Don't.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Listen, however it is on the mind map, just go with that.
Okay.
But yeah, Chain of Memories takes place immediately after the end of the first game.
Okay. And then, so this one looks like Chain of Memories is... I just left that page. It's basically just explaining... Oh, this is going to be mostly Disney characters, it looks like.
Yeah, the fun thing about Kingdom Hearts is every game will introduce more Disney characters.
Right, yeah, and that's kind of interesting.
Sometimes they'll always go back and they'll add Final Fantasy characters. I mean, there's no way for Square Enix to have a Final Fantasy game and not add characters from Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 8.
I mean, even Cloud makes his way into the games.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Cloud was in the first one, wasn't he?
Cloud's in the first one. He's in the second one. Sephiroth is secret boss in the first 2 games, or in the first 2 numbered games, When you go and you play Birth by Sleep, Zack is in the game, and I think he's the only Final Fantasy character in that game. And Square Enix has no qualms about going into their other titles, because if you've ever played The World Ends With You, some of their characters show up in Dream Drop Distance.
Okay.
And now I think for Kingdom Hearts 3, Square Enix has already announced that they're going to be adding characters from Big Hero 6 and Rapunzel. So
I'm so excited for that.
Big Hero 6 looks cool. San Fran Tokyo looks awesome. So... being able to fly on Baymax's back is going to be cool.
I might have to get it just for that. So that would bring us to Kingdom Hearts 2, which, like you guys were saying, this was one that you actually did kind of need to have some exposure to a non-numbered game for continuity's sake, as far as some of the background lore.
And you know what's interesting? The prologue to that game, you don't actually start the game playing as Sora. You start the game playing as Roxas, and he's my favorite character. And while you have some story of Roxas in Kingdom Hearts, his legitimate story didn't come for another couple years when his game got released. So even that seems confusing, but again, that wouldn't have been something that you could have went back to Chain of Memories for, because that wouldn't have been in there either.
Do you want to go over the concept of what a nobody is, to explain kind of what Roxas is a little bit more?
Sure. So nobodies are existences that come about when, excuse me, when a person's heart is consumed and becomes a heartless. What happens is the heart becomes its own separate entity. That is the heartless of what we know. The body, quote unquote, without a heart morphs into its own separate identity, and that's what a nobody. So in the first game, when Sora stabs himself with Ansem's keyblade, and he releases his heart, which in turn makes him a heartless, his body disintegrates, but reforms itself later on as Roxas. And again, I think it's all a misnomer.
Right. And what's interesting, kind of the idea that the nobodies have, is that they are emotionless. They're supposed to be emotionless, but that gets fudged in a lot of different ways with some of the characters. But
they're soulless, maybe.
Yeah, kind of.
I like how the emblem is an upside down heart that's been splintered.
Yeah, I think the symbols of the game are interesting, and even that symbol goes back to something else, as I learned later in my life. But and something within Kingdom Hearts that's that was one of those things. I was playing a different game at some point, like, oh, that's just not right. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the heartless symbol is a heart. Actually, the heartless symbol and nobody symbol are reversed.
Yeah, they are.
And it looks like the nobodies are a hierarchical form too.
They believe themselves to be.
Because they have like lower nobodies, and then special, and then replicas, and then obviously the 13.
Yeah. Right, which is the organization 13.
They have gummies. Yeah. They have gummy nobodies. What is that?
The thing about nobodies and heartless, there are few and far between, to be fair, that have consciousness. So the heartless, like Green said, are for the most part, they're animalistic, completely instinctual in their actions. The nobodies are like Taken without a command.
They have memories. That's the only. That's the biggest
feral.
difference. They
are more like zombies. They are mindless drones. They need some sort of guidance.
What are they after though?
They are Heartless are after. Heartless are like viruses. They want to produce more Heartless.
Which means they want to steal your heart.
Yeah,
consume, enhance, replicate.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Nobodies, their innate desire is to become whole again. So there's a great scene in Kingdom Hearts 2 where there are hearts literally falling from the sky, and all of the nobodies are reaching at the hearts. And these are all the drones, none of the ones that are doing this are the conscious, or the ones with any sort of identity. But their instinct is they need to go and reclaim identity somehow.
There's a lot of philosophy and psychology game that's really fascinating.
Yeah, much more than just the dichotomy of light and dark.
Yeah.
There's the whole matter of morality and choice, and it's great stuff.
Especially when you get into the Organization 13's main objective.
Yeah.
The fact that they want to fill the Kingdom Heart, fill the place so much that it kind of burst, and that the hearts will fall back down to the Terra type place that they're on, and then they can consume those and become again and to reclaim their own heart. So, yeah, lots of complicated.
So in the Kingdom Hearts universe, is the heart a physical or a metaphysical Are we talking about a figurative heart, or is this more of a much more physical thing?
Imagery-wise, it's actually a physical thing. It's kind of both in the fact that it goes into a metaphysical place, but they are physical things that you see with light and with darkness and all sorts of imagery, just because it's a cartoon-based video game.
Yeah. I just didn't know if it was meant to be more of like a manifestation of the soul.
Yes.
In a very neat, tidy way that you could make an icon of it.
Yes.
That. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
there are definitely some fun moments. Like I said, like in the beginning of every game, you have a tutorial, and that's where the tutorial takes place within a person's heart. So in a metaphysical way, that is your representation of the heart. When a heart is actively on screen, it could appear as a heart shape, or it'll appear as a glowing ball, which is, then directed or moved about how the story propels it.
So
I see.
Yeah. As far as, do you want to get into the history of the keyblade and what the keyblade is, since it's kind of a major player?
Okay, so the history of the keyblade, even for me, it's still sort of mysterious, because despite everything that we've gotten in the game series, it's not been completely explained. What we know about the keyblade is that it is made in imitation of a keyblade, and key being the Greek letter key.
The
keyblade. So the iconic keyblade of the game looks like I don't even know what type of key. I don't know keys.
It's like a basic skeleton key.
Yeah.
It's a key, but the teeth are forming a crown.
Yes. Yeah. That is the generic keyblade that anybody who's aware of Kingdom Hearts knows what it looks like. The keyblade being the Keyblade Prime. Let's go again with this.
Can we call it the X-Blade? Because that is what it is.
Okay, with the X-Blade. The X-Blade in structure looks like two Kingdom Keys, which is the name of Sora's Keyblade. It looks like two Kingdom Keys melded together with, God, I don't know what the word for this is. The blade, the actual blade portion.
The what?
The blade portion of the weapon.
Yeah. What about that's just usually the blade, and then the
shaft.
No. Like I have a word.
So okay, there's the pommel and the hilt of the blade, and then you have the X where the two key blades intersect.
The crossguard.
And then it's kind of the crossguard, but it doesn't act like one. It's basically an extension of the blade. So you have the tip of the blade, and then extending from that tip is the cross of the two keyblades, and then that goes into the hilt itself. So it's just like a super long, ridiculous Final Fantasy blade.
Okay, so like the basic anatomy of the sword, if you start at the point, you have the point, the blade, the fuller, the guard, the grip, the pommel, and then usually what's called like a peen block. If you have a peen block, sometimes you don't have to have those, but like that's so like I think what you're talking about is in between like fuller. Where the fuller is, like the fuller to the crossguard piece. I'm trying to understand what we're.
It's just see, this is the exact issue with this weapon. Even the X-Blade is unique.
Yeah, because the X-Blade, which I'm assuming is the first Keyblade, right? The really basic one that has the Mickey Mouse logo on the chain.
Okay, so if you look in the Discord chat, I actually linked a picture of it.
Cool.
This is what the X-Blade looks like, and it.
Oh dear like God, that's not what I was looking at. Okay.
Yeah. So what we know of is what it's called the Kingdom Key, and that is the Keyblade that Sora uses, and Mickey has in reverse colors. that's the one that we're typically aware of. That can be considered a basic keyblade. This is
so the kingdom
not
key. It's like
basic.
so for those listening and not able to look at this picture, if you look up the basic kingdom keyblade, right? It's like two of those have been merged to their sides, and then so that you have two handles, and then basically they're crossed. So you have an X, which is, I'm assuming, kind of where the name is, but then it further extends out to make another sword. And then to kind of, I guess it looks like to kind of counterbalance the extension of the fuller in the blade even further, they've added on to where normally you would have a full, it's usually called the fuller, which is usually the place where in a sword, if anyone's familiar with a sword, it's usually where you have like the blood channel and the bloodletting channel.
The blood groove.
Yeah, it's, or the blood groove, basically to keep your sword from getting stuck. There, or a fort, or a forte, I guess, if you want. That's usually where it is. But they've kind of extended that, and there's also it looks like a circle kind of that's been placed over it. It's a very ornate sword, but extremely impractical. It also I'm just looking at this going, how in the nine
you want to know where the individual holds it from?
I'm really curious actually, because where
the individual who actually holds this wields it from right where the two hilts blend together.
But that doesn't.
And
okay.
he holds it with one arm, and he easily swings it with one arm.
Yay, Final Fantasy.
He holds it over his head.
I blame Final Fantasy for that one. So, like, I mean, okay, so
Those aren't very realistic, but
yeah, I mean, that's
yes,
where the Final Fantasy piece.
Even amongst Keyblades, this one is to a whole new level in terms of design, importance, all of that. Because there's only one Keyblade that looks like, and again, I don't know keys. What does a typical key look like? I know it's not a skeleton key. There's a name for these things.
No, there's actually a term for that type of key. It's called a lever lock key, is what it's called.
Are you talking about the basic key?
Yeah,
okay.
The one I used to open my house.
So,
No, but if you look through Kingdom Hearts, through the iconography of the whole franchise, it's all lever lock keys.
Yeah,
like
there's one
all
key.
of them.
There's one key that is different, and if I could find an image of Fenrir,
There's not.
It's also called Fenrir, so let's just drop that one in there.
Let's just enjoy that for a second.
So while he's looking for that one, the other thing that's super Keyblades in general is that there was a whole war based off of Keyblades in one of the extended universe, or not extended universe, but extended games. And the whole premise of this Keyblade, the X-Blade, is the fact that it can only be made when equal parts light battles equal parts dark, and it can only be formed then. So that created this whole need for people to do this giant war to try to destroy each other to create this perfect balanced sword, which ironically would not be perfect balance if you held it, just because it's that design.
Yeah, okay. So Fenrir's sword thing that looks more like a club. It does. I'm sorry. This is like
It looks like a car key.
So
It kind of looks like Icebreaker.
Yeah, I mean, it looks that looks more like that actually looks more like a skeleton key. But anyway, okay, anyways, so the problem that I'm having wrapping my brain around this is that I actually used to make blades. So I'm like that doesn't balance right at all.
It does if a cartoon's gonna hold it.
Well, that was my cursing at Final Fantasy there for a minute.
It's like Cloud Sword.
Oh god, yeah, don't even get me started on
I actually watched a video. Someone made that.
Yeah, there's
out of metal.
some.
Oh God.
But okay, so anyways, so Fenrir's blade. You're saying this blade is the only keyblade that doesn't have a lever lock key at the end. It actually looks like a sword.
This is the only keyblade that doesn't have teeth, quote unquote.
Okay.
This is the only keyblade that looks like a car key.
Yeah, it looks like a pin tumbler key.
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
It's a pin tumbler type key.
Yeah.
It's still considered a keyblade, isn't it?
Yeah. It's absolutely still considered a keyblade. It's just unique on a whole. It's unique in design.
Mm-hmm.
Every other keyblade is even the super ridiculously ornate ones, not being the X blade, are all skeletal or the other. I forgot. I'm so
lever lock.
Lever lock, yes.
Which is like the iconic symbol for a key.
Mm-hmm. That's the symbol that you pull up when you look for a key for maps and whatnot.
And if I really wanted to ruin Blue's existence, I would just keep linking keyblades.
Oh no, I tried to spend an afternoon like I was like I'm gonna try to be knowledgeable about keyblades because that's like some I'm like, okay, swords, I can probably talk a little. Nope. I got like halfway through the list. I'm like, I'm done. I don't even know what this is anymore.
Yeah. So real quick, just for Josh, what makes a skeleton key is that some of the grooves have been filed down so that it works on more than one lock. Mm-hmm. So it's essentially it works better with a pin and tumbler style, but it could be almost any kind of key, but it's just one that's been kind of tampered with so that it can open a bunch of different stuff.
I should say, and this is something I should have said right from the beginning when we started talking about keyblades. I think they might all be lever lock design, but the pragmatic use of keyblades are skeletal. Because keyblades have the ability to open any lock of any which kind in the series.
And close them. And lock
yes,
up
and close them.
So they in addition to being weapons, they actually have a door locking and unlocking mechanic.
Yes.
And that's what follows suit with the X-Blade, rather. The X-Blade is sentient to some degree because it is the counterpart to Kingdom Hearts. And so the only way that the truest form of Kingdom Hearts can be accessed is through unlocking via the X-Blade. So whoever made Keyblades when he started making them made them in full imitation of the X-Blade so they can unlock and lock and X, Y, and Z. And their major purpose is to lock or unlock hearts, which is why they work so well against Heartless, because they are not only cleansing the Heart of Darkness, but they are, once again, locking them away from darkness.
So it's also not just doors, it's a metaphysical opening as well. That red versus blue just popped in my head.
Yeah. So like in the game, you go and you find a treasure chest, you'll use your Keyblade to open the treasure chest. But there are significant story elements to the game where one person will be unlocking another person's heart.
Aww.
So let's go to a slightly easier topic. Can we?
Yeah, let's jump. So I think you wanted to kind of point out. So we're talking about Keyblades, but we want to talk about a little bit about the people who wield them. I think, Green, you wanted to kind of distinguish between those.
Right. So there's a progress that happens in the story, in the different stories, where there's basically a master and an apprentice. In the early games, you find out that Mickey is the apprentice to here's drum roll, please. The sorcerer from Sorcerer's Apprentice. So he's the apprentice. He's
Nice.
a wielder, but he doesn't become a master until he does his apprenticeship with the sorcerer. And then the character in that early game, I can't remember his name. Is it Vin? I want to say it's Vin.
Yeah, it's Vin and Vanitas.
Yeah.
Oh, Ventus, Aqua, and Terra. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
so
just blanked
Ventus.
out.
Yeah, Ventus is the light character that you beginning of that. He is studying under Master Ericus,
Yes.
and him, Aqua, and Terra are all studying under them, and they're practicing being wielders. And you find out that Aqua, during her final test, because Aqua versus off against Terra, during their final test, that Aqua is accepted to be considered a master and Terra is not, which kind of sets off the whole story.
So, Blue, have you seen Star Wars? Yes. Terra is Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
And that is literally all you need to know of Birth by Sleep.
But okay, Anakin. Okay, yeah.
Is there pod racing?
Yes.
Nice. Okay. Now this is a completely speculative question, but given that Disney bought the Star Wars franchise, is it possible we could see some Star Wars characters in here at some point?
Yes, I think that's confirmed, isn't it?
Well,
All right.
given we have yet to see any Pixar films in this game, I doubt it.
Why
I thought
wouldn't
that
they?
was confirmed. I thought that was.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
I would love to as well, but I remember that Xemnas' weapons look like lightsabers to begin with.
But
Right.
Jar Jar is so a nobody. Right?
I do want to say though, and this is separate and yet related to the topic at hand. Kingdom Hearts has a lot of great voice acting in this game,
Mm-hmm.
and from a lot of people that maybe people would not expect them to be in the game. Just the main characters themselves. Haley Joel Osment plays Sora, David Gallagher plays Riku, and Hayden Panettiere plays Kairi. But you've had other actors like Leonard Nimoy, who has voiced Master Xehanort for 2 games. Mark Hamill voices Master Ericus. Christopher Lee voiced Ansem the Wise. So
What?
yeah, this game has
What?
gotten big name people, and it's fantastic.
They are
Dude, when
doing
you get-
Pixar in the next game. Yeah.
When you get Christopher Lee to do a voice in your video game, you've arrived.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say I'm somehow wondering why Mark Hamill's not part of your theory, but Mark Hamill does voice acting all the time. But yeah, no, it has
Plays-
great voice acting in this game.
It's just a good game. It's a game that kids can play. It's not. If you want to get into the complicated stuff, you can get into the complicated stuff. If you don't, you don't have to. You're literally fighting bad guys to save, like, your Disney friends from your childhood. What more do you want? I mean, it's awesome.
Toy Story to be in the game. That's what
I want a really complicated looking sword. Oh wait, I got it.
You
Never
got
mind.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's it.
You want a really impractical looking key or a really complicated looking sword? One or the other. Oh wait, they're the same one.
No, wait, they're the same one. Hey, I can't open this door. Just hit it with the keyblade. Oh wait, it just
wait.
You don't even
That
have to
doesn't
hit
always
it.
work.
You just have to point
Yeah.
it at it.
I heard the
No,
next
it's
Kingdom
so much
Hearts,
more
they're
fun
just
to
going to
hit
be
it.
hitting each other with key fobs from new Volkswagens.
they're going to be switchblades now with the little
Beep, beep.
you know, the little
Yeah.
keys, the new car key design that has the little flip out.
Yeah. You want to get cut? I open you up.
Josh is getting back at you.
No, that's not a sword. That's a club.
It's an
That's-
axe.
That's like a bludgeoning tool.
No,
It's not-
there's a term for that. It's a cudgel.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
No, I'm gonna have to go with Justin on that one. That is a cudgel.
That's a cudgel.
Just one last thing before we escape keyblade. Every keyblade does have a keychain on it.
I was
and that's not just a design choice. Keychains actually reflect an individual or the world from which you got the keyblade.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't Sora's have Mickey Mouse head on it?
Yeah, Sora's has Mickey's on it, and I think that's a dual reason. I think it's because the original protagonist of the game in concept was supposed to be Mickey. But it also matches Mickey's inverse Kingdom Key as well. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, every character or every Keyblade has a different keychain. And if they're not obvious in terms of their meaning, there's obviously something else behind it. I mean, Terra, Ven, and Aqua, their keychains, one is stone, one is wind, and one is a raindrop. Mm-hmm. If you don't know Latin, you don't know why that's significant to each character.
Okay, yeah.
I know Aqua.
Exactly.
Aqua's the drop.
And like I said, in terms of...
Wheezy Blue is the best blue.
Aqua's got the drop of water.
I guess
Aqua means water.
I was proud of myself because I knew something. Get out of here.
Go read a book.
Terra's probably the stone. Read a book.
That's funny.
Well, yeah, and like I said, the naming conventions, Terra, Ven, and Aqua, again, that could be easy if you're aware of the language. But that is also, those names are also reflected with Riku, Sora, and Kairi because they have the same meaning, just in a different language.
Okay.
And so you might understand how certain characters relate. So Riku is, for all intents and purposes, he is the apprentice to Terra because Terra had commenced a sort of inheritance ceremony with Riku when Riku was a child. And so Terra had already chosen him to be his successor long before Riku even had access to the Keyblade. So that it's sort of like many layers of connections between characters. I mean, the connections between Ventus and Sora are, Ventus is in Sora or Sora helped him out or all these, it gets wild, but this is why names are sort of important in this game.
I believe Ventus is like, so he's before Sora. Sora is a soul split of Ventus or a descendant.
I really think it's a providential thing for Sora and Ventus. They don't come from the same place. Ironically, Sora actually comes from Sora and Riku. I'm sorry. They both come from the same world as the major antagonist in the saga. Mm-hmm. And I don't think any of them really know that or care. So I don't really think the connection between Sora and Ventus is anything more than fate, as it were. However,
Ventus and Vanitas are actually related. Vanitas, darkness from Ven at the beginning when Ventus has the dark side of him pulled out.
Yes.
And Vanitas in Latin literally means, I believe, like it's the morbid aspect of things. So skulls, death, that type of thing.
Yeah, it's vanity, it's emptiness. He's as a character, Vanitas has no ability to even empathize with another person.
So is it true? Is it Ventus and Vanitas that were ripped apart?
Yes.
By Xenohort from his apprentice? Did I just kill someone because I knew something?
Yes.
I was in the middle
Blue died of shock.
I was in the middle of eating a bagel when you said Xenohort.
Xenohort! Sorry.
Which again, these names, if you take the X away from that name, it spells out no heart.
Yeah.
Nice.
For some reason, they have meanings. I don't know why.
But
I like Xenohort.
so you're okay. So Xenohort, if we're gonna call him that, even though that's how will you actually pronounce it? Is that
It was Xenohort.
Zahanort?
It's Xehanort.
Xehanort?
Yeah.
Oh, I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
And then
Sorry.
Ericus. Those two are the
I did say it wrong.
those two are the original two that kind of start off the whole universe story where everybody splits and everything, and then oh god, now you have it in my head, Justin.
I'm sorry.
He does that.
I was saying
he does that. I swear.
I was saying it from memory. Okay, so
okay, we'll just call him X, Master X. He shows up later in the games multiple times.
Yes. He is the major antagonist of, but the developers of the game have called the Dark Seeker Saga. And so he comes up in many different forms because he has many different iterations that follow his primary existence. When he dies, he has done enough so that there will be certain events in the future that happen according to his plan. And a couple of those revolve incarnations of his being born again to further along his plans.
Mm-hmm. He comes back at the end of the series, or at the end of what we know so far.
Yeah.
And he takes over Terra, unfortunately, too. That's a fun part of that. Just kind of steals Terra away from everybody. So that Anakin Skywalker thing, that's where that comes into. But yeah, that's extended universe.
all of this seems to be extended universe.
Well, it's just to me, it seems like this game has different layers of complexity for players to dive into. You know, it definitely seems like if you just play Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, that's completely okay. That works. You can probably get a full story, you know, for the surface level dive at least. But then if you really, really, really am curious about, you know, these different characters in this universe and stuff like that, it sounds like, you know, in normal Square Enix fashion, this has been built out very, very detailed. And it, you know, then, you know, just kind of to point to this entire conversation too. I mean, like, you know, the entire conversation of the keychain, or the, you know, the keychain and the significance is connected to the keyblade and the name of the wielder of that keyblade. You know, it's pointing to a lot of forethought on the producer's part. And also, you know, again, you don't have to know the full story to understand that blade is, you know, a certain blade because of this significance of this term, or this, you know, this reflection of that person, blah, blah, blah. You could just know that that blade works really well for this. You know, you can have different levels of understanding. And that's kind of you know, I'm to bring it kind of back to, you know, Destiny as well. Destiny, there are different levels, or actually any game, to be honest, there are different levels of understanding and different levels of how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. And it, you know, that's what I've kind of, my summary of this episode, you know, being a person who knows pretty much next to nothing other than they have really unrealistic looking blades. And it's very frustrating. Other than that, you know, my understanding of this universe is pretty limited. But it, you know, that's what I just keep hearing, is this reiteration of this universe is extremely detailed. This universe is very, very well constructed, but at the same time, it's beautifully constructed in a way that if you don't want to spend a lot of time going through, you know, 10 different games, 12 different games, I can't remember how many, but like, if you don't want to go through every single game to know this backstory of that one character that, you know, you might miss if you didn't play these games, that doesn't affect, it doesn't affect your enjoyment of the main game quote unquote main game. You know, you could argue which game's the main game, but the numbered titles, right? Kingdom Heart 1, Kingdom Heart 2, and the upcoming, because Kingdom Heart 3 is the one that's coming out soon-ish, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Is it
We
this
hope.
year? or
Okay,
next
well, I
year?
mean, it has not already come out.
No.
Okay.
It is the next one to
It
come
is
out.
okay. It's going to be the next one to be released. The numbered titles, though, it's nice to have, but it's not necessary to have played technically the other titles.
This next one might be a little bit difficult to understand as far
Okay.
as story-wise what's going on.
Just simply because of the development.
Yeah, because you don't exactly see Master X come back at the end, and you don't know who he is if you haven't.
It's basically the culmination of the entire.
Definitely the
You
culmination
can-
of the series.
So is
it's-
it meant to be the ending? Just
It's
out of
meant to be
curiosity.
it's meant to be the ending, as far as we know. It's meant to be the ending of this saga.
Okay.
Now, the game creator has long since had plans for future installments and future sagas that are away from these first 8 games.
Okay.
So, like you said, you can have a great enjoyment of the game and have a very concise story if you play 1 and 2, or if you play 1, Chain of Memories, and 2, if you want to be really specific. But a person who's only played the numbered titles will be, in my opinion, utterly lost playing Kingdom Hearts 3.
Well, and
You
that
can watch-
that definitely makes sense. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that makes sense because it's been what?
You can-
I mean, 2000. It's 2017 now, and the first.
It's
game,
been 15 years.
I was about to say,
This
yeah, the
is-
first
this-
game.
Long time.
This year is the 15-year anniversary.
Yeah, so it's a long building series, and
Yeah.
whereas with the first title or Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, those were kind of the front runners, if you would. This is kind of I guess what you guys are saying. This is where all the strings are coming back. All the strings are coming back into the knot, and this is going to tie off this entire story plot for this particular saga, as far
We
as
hope.
it appears.
We hope.
Okay, that makes sense. So you have maybe a year to finish every single one of these 11 games or 10 games. Go.
It's actually not too hard. I mean, games, I could play Kingdom Hearts 1 and probably, I know I could do it, maybe playing an hour or 2 a day in a week. So it's not
Don't
super
tempt
long.
me, because I have
could do it.
I have a PS2 sitting over here.
You could do it. It's not that long of a game. Challenge Blue.
I will say, excuse me. I will say that the good thing about the Kingdom Hearts series, and again, I'm going to sound wrong, fortunately, only for Sony, but I kind of wish it stayed on Sony.
Mhm.
If
I
you
can
have
see
a
that.
PlayStation 4, or if for some reason, somehow, Green and I got you really excited to play the series and you really want to play the entire series, get a PS4 if you don't have one. On March 28th comes out a compilation called Kingdom Hearts 1.5 2.5. This has 6 games in it.
Mhm.
4 of them playable. The other 2 are cinematic films of the games.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is to say, they're all the cutscenes that are in these games. And the reason is, the games that are cinematic were either not easy to port or nobody wanted them ported.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
Again, Roxas is my favorite character. Kingdom Hearts 358 Days over 2 had a great story, but I wanted to vomit playing that game because it was terrible gameplay. Absolutely horrible. Horrible. That game did not need to get redone. But as cinematic, it is great because you can
Mhm.
sit down for 3 hours and watch it.
I believe there's probably, I think there's some cinematic movies of them on where somebody's pulled all the cutscenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
With
sure
most
there is.
games.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't something out there. So is that, and to reiterate, that is only going to be on the PS4?
Yes, the 1.5, 2.5 collection will only be on the PS4. The 2.8 that just came out early or at the end of January, that includes a whole new game, which is actually the prologue to Kingdom Hearts 3. That is also only on Sony. So if you wanted to get the whole Kingdom Hearts experience, wait until the end of the month, and you can buy 1.5, 2.5, and you can buy 2.8 if you haven't already. You have, let me count. You have 6 games to play, and you have 3 cinematic movies to watch. And that is 99% of everything you need to know before playing Kingdom Hearts 3.
And I've got one console to buy.
I don't know why I didn't just have PS4 to begin with, but hey, yeah, sure.
I'm telling you that
Halo!
You're talking to 2 Halo players.
I know.
Listen, I've talked with you people for almost 2 hours, and I haven't heard the word plasma grenade once.
Well, it's just interesting to me that they're going to bring, this is just my mind, but they would bring Kingdom Hearts 3 to Xbox One, but not
the rest of
any
them?
of them. Because, to the point of what you're saying, Josh, is if you're going to need all this knowledge going into Kingdom Hearts 3, whoa, that's a disservice to the people playing it on the Xbox, because some of them might be like me, and I've never played any of them simply because they've been a Sony exclusive. Like, it's nothing against that. It's just I've never had access to it. It's like saying, oh, hey, Final Fantasy is now on Xbox, which it is, but but that doesn't really build on, it doesn't sound like it's so inherently important to know that history. To me, that's just an odd, I don't know, that's an odd thing.
It's kind of a disservice to the story.
Right, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
The new people will pick up the game and play it, and they'll just enjoy it going forward, but they'll be missing out on a bunch of the context within.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I think that if that were the case, then I think when they first started doing the remakes, because the 1.5 remake and the 2.5 remake originally came out on the PlayStation 3.
Okay.
By that time, though, if I recall, it might have already been announced, however, that Kingdom Hearts 3 was going to be on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I'm not entirely sure about that.
Yeah, because I just did a quick search on Kingdom Hearts on the Xbox One, and one of the developers, when he was asked about it, his point back, his rebuttal to it was they don't want to delay the release of Kingdom Hearts 3 any further, and so in order to release the ports over onto the Xbox as well would, it sounds like, impact that timeline. So.
And, for Kingdom Hearts fans,
if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, you're probably a Sony player. You're probably a PlayStation player.
Yeah, you're
already.
probably, and it's really hard, because this has been a game that we've been waiting for since 2005 when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. Because when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, there were none of these other auxiliary games except for Chain of Memories. So there were secret endings, and I'll link you the secret endings for the after show so you guys can watch them. There were secret endings to Kingdom Hearts 2 that were great. They were absolutely phenomenal, but we thought it was Kingdom Hearts 3. Little did we know, Kingdom Hearts 3 wasn't going to come out for another. So for for the fans, it is really like, no offense, we can't wait any longer.
Right. No, I mean, I totally hear you on that front. I mean, yeah.
And I think on the other side, and again, part of me is just like, they should just always keep it. Like, it's not that it's always been on Sony, because some of the smaller games have been on Nintendo, specifically Nintendo handhelds.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like, you never made the jump to Microsoft. There was never been a reason to, outside of, let's just say it, outside of your own greed. Like, and it's very wrong to then not have the 1.5, 2.5 collection and the 2.8 collection not come out for Xbox. It makes no sense.
Well,
so no, go ahead.
Yeah, I think they'll probably be available later as add-ons.
It's very possible. They did what was that one that they did that was the rare collection, or the
Yeah.
the
The rare replay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think
makes sense.
you've got to make people who have the word exclusive in front of, their purchase. You got to make them feel special,
Yeah.
Got to have them feel special. So,
how I feel special? The 1.5 and the 2.5, they gave me pins. I don't really feel so special about getting a pin just for buying a Kingdom Hearts game. I love the game, but
well, we have a pins, and he's awesome.
It's not in chat right now.
Oh, come on, pins.
I fell for that one.
Oh man. So, is there any wrapping up statement on summary other than
I got
go
one.
look at the mind map?
I did a tweet. I did a wrap-up tweet. Put up. So 140 characters in Kingdom Hearts episode recap. Keyblades are ... Disney is awesome. Final Fantasy is awesome. Soul/Hearts, oi. That's the tweet.
That I just stopped listening after you explained what my feelings on Keyblades were.
Yeah.
They're blades. They just have.
They're not
They're blades. They're blades, and I'm going to link you every interesting looking Keyblade I can think of.
Oh, I'll totally take that. I love interesting fantasy weapons. It's just one of those things where it's like, I don't understand how that's a sword. How does that?
I just want a game where they're all made out of
weapon.
Yeah,
it's a like.
So,
It's
just want them made out of
weapon.
spoons.
Let's just say that it's a
Spoon blade.
Spoon blade. The spork blade.
The spoon blade.
it's just a metaphysical. That one's pretty. Metaphysical doesn't actually cut anything. It's just there to open things. Open up
Almost.
the heart.
It's almost like it's the term isn't avatar because that's for a person, but it's like it's a ceremonial, like physical object with supernatural type powers.
And
It's not that it's a practical cutting implement.
But that's the way it's presented.
But
So are magic wands,
Blue.
but you don't actually
No,
stab
wands.
anybody with.
What? No. Oh no. No.
Oh,
Wands.
bibbidi bobbidi blue.
Bibbidi bobbidi blue. No, wands are never meant as a melee weapon, though.
Okay, what about an athame? What about an athame?
I don't even know what an athame is. What is this? Did you just make up a word?
No, it's a thing. Look it up.
I know what anathema is.
It's it's like
No,
anathema.
athame. ATH.
Oh,
AMA.
ATH.
Yeah.
Is that like anime but from Athens?
No, it's
No, I
it's
see it. Hang on. Yeah, but that's a ceremonial sword.
Still,
But it's
Not
a
actually- it's not
ceremonial
actually- it's
sword.
not-
Which one are
That's
we
what
talking
this-
about? There's a lot of different
Yeah.
ones.
so okay. There's an athame and there's a bowling. An athame is never used to cut. It's just meant to cut metaphysically. Same thing with a keyblade. It's not meant to actually cut. It's meant to cut metaphysically.
No, because they actually do. Because when I played it a little bit, you actually did cut things with the keyblade.
Green, I think you forgot the fact that Sora cuts through several buildings with his keyblade.
I'm trying to make it work.
Did you just shush our guest?
I did. I was trying to make it better for Blue, and it's just not going to work.
Not going to happen.
For clarification, I do know what a ceremonial blade is. I did not know that it was called an anathema. Sorry, I'm not well versed on my ancient Greek.
No worries.
I've never heard of that word, and I studied ancient Greek.
There, I feel better. I feel so much better. Thank you.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
I don't know that word, and I had Greek food once.
All right, I'm gonna go to my local. I'm gonna go to my dictionary online and look up what the hell this word is.
Athame?
It's I don't know how to.
How do you spell this?
Athame.
Athane.
Oh,
Emmy.
Oh, M-E, my bad.
If it has a tilde over the top of it, so it's got that A sound.
Oh, anasame. But you know us.
Do I not
say
know
it better.
It's generally okay. So for those of you who may or may not know, it's as far as modern day uses of it, people use it as a ceremonial dagger.
Oh, it's from Latin. It's not from Greek.
Yeah.
It's from
they use it for
Artavis. Sorry.
It's been used in the modern day as kind of a Wiccan type thing, witchcraft type thing, as far as the people study like that.
What is this?
Athame.
No, I know, but when I look it up in Latin, it gives me the.
Oh, yeah, and the other one is the bowl. And a bowling is actually cut with. It's also a ceremonial dagger, but you actually carve with that one.
Which one was that one?
Bowling. Boleen.
An anathema.
Anathema.
Set up. A votive offering set up at a.
See, that's actually funny because that's actually one of the words that's in the Banshee face laser card in Destiny.
Also a name of a gun, Bowling Gemini.
Oh, I was thinking anathema, but yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, we've gotten off on some really odd Greek tangent.
No, I think we're good here. I think we're
back into my familiar territory. Let's talk about etymology a bit more. I can actually contribute to this. Okay, so shout outs. Josh, go.
Mm-hmm. I have shout outs. I didn't know about that. Yeah.
How many times have you been on the show?
You know, I've counted. It's 6.
Holy You've done this a few times.
And I still don't have shout outs. No, thank you guys for having me on once again. I thoroughly enjoy doing this. So anytime I can come on is great.
Green, what about you?
I just want to thank Josh for coming in and helping me with this one. Because, this one would have been a beast to do without anybody else to help. Considering that Justin and Blue over here. Yeah, I play the quiet straight man in the background a lot of the time. Intersecting every once in a while with the jab. It's kind of nice to be able to talk a little bit more officially about something.
I love it when you go ham. It's a sight to see.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys can't see.
Justin, what about you?
Like, what about Justin's shout outs?
Yeah, shout outs. Go.
Oh, shout outs. Great big shout out. Great big shout out to Donald Duck because tantrums. And also McClan, DoD Shadow White Crew. And also gonna do it 2 weeks running. Iggy the Iguana. Big shout out to Iggy the Iguana. I'm good.
All right. Well, my reminder that next month, March is extra lore topic is going to be a discussion on the universe of Portal, and so obviously the entire Portal series, which in turn does kind of include some of Half-Life for those of you who enjoy that dive into craziness. Other than that, just big shout out. Thank you again, Josh, for jumping on. As always, we appreciate you taking your time out of your schedule and jumping and joining us for the conversation. With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. Links to all our other sites can also be found with our episode archives over on www.focusfirechat.com. Thank you again, Demi, for jumping into the chat. Really appreciate having you. I'll be sure to get your links all put into the show notes for anyone who wishes to continue this conversation with you. Please be sure to email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com with any feedback or questions for the team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback on iTunes or through that email as well. Reminder, we do try to stream a recap of the month-long Extra Lore conversations in the first week of each month, but if we have any variations, we always make sure to let everyone know through our Twitter account at FocusFireChat. Also, be sure to check out our partner podcasts within the Guardian Radio Network over on theguardiansofdestiny.com. So, until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.
So much sense. It makes so much sense.
What does?
The double handle.
Why? How does the double handle make any? Oh, that's kind of cool.
He's just being silly.
Well, no. So the double handled one, that's the only one that actually gets held by two people at the same time.
That makes even less sense. What? They have one sword. Oh my god, I'm done.
So